Alright, what's going on guys? It's Almond. Welcome back to another Wizard101 video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about more tier 5 spellements. I've been on the grind whenever I get the chance, and I was able to farm up another set of tier 5 spells. There's still a lot more spells I need a tier 5, right? And eventually I will do that. But I went for these spells next because they were up on my list for spells that I wanted to max out. I know a lot of people want to max out other ones like the Ravenwood spells and other things like that, the Lore Master, but those just didn't see as appealing to me. I can see why people go for it, but instead I went for the Immortal spellements that you can get from Lady Stonegaze and Aquila. Now some people say that is just a waste of spellements, or a waste of gold keys, I mean. And eventually, like, if you're sitting on gold keys, you might as well use them on something, right? And for that reasoning, I had a lot of people that wanted to farm as well, so we just kept on cycling keys, and we were able to get some stuff done. But let's look at some tier 5 spells, right? Eventually, just from farming, you're able to get tier 5. I was able to get tier 5 on Festus and Athena before I got Calypso done, which was kind of surprising. So RNG was not in my favor on Calypso, but Festus and Athena were done pretty easily. But let's quickly look over some of these spells, shall we? So if we go to the Storm one, as you guys can see, Queen Calypso. Now, I know some people are gonna wonder why I didn't go for that bottom path. Reason being is I'm never gonna use that infection. Pretty straightforward. I know some people are gonna be like, well, for advanced combat, whatever. At the moment, I just do not see a reason. If for some reason they introduce a key boss or some type of advanced combat where I'm going to be like, okay, I need a school pit, but I also need to do damage, but at the same time I should leave an infection on somebody, then yeah, I will use it. But just at that moment, bottom path Queen Calypso has no use to me at all, right? And I don't know if people even use Queen Calypso like bottom path even in PvP. I know some people try doing strats with it, but it's a minus 80 infection. You also got to keep that in mind. So for that reasoning, it's very specific for advanced combat / PvP, and instead I went for the top path, right? It's literally a plus 30% trap on everyone, and on top of that, it's doing good damage. I know seeing the number at the bottom and comparing it to the top, you're like, well, technically the bottom one does more, but not really. The top one does more because you're applying a trap and then hitting that same enemy, so you're doing more than what this initially even does. So you got to keep that in mind when you're looking at this top path. It's not just, oh, it has lower damage, whatever. No, it's because you're also hitting with the percent trap, right? So that's why I went for the top one. I can see it being used, and I can use it because of the fact that it is a 2 pip and a school pip. So I feel like it is good for certain scenarios. Like literally I can do this round 1 and not have to worry about anything. But like, why would I use this when, for example, like Teacup exists? Teacup does way more damage, right? You can still do this round 1, but for like a little bit less when it comes to pips, you can still do something like this, and it still does a good amount of damage, I'd say. So take that to interpretation as you must. But that is Queen Calypso. So now let's look over at Athena battle site, shall we? All right, we're on the myth, right? We can quickly look at our spells, and let's go over to our spellements, and let's quickly go to Athena battle site. Now, there's not much to say about this path on here because literally there's only one path. Maybe down the line they'll do a separate path, but at the moment I don't know what they could do for that separate path. I'm not too sure if people are even using this in PvP. I've been seeing a bunch of myth PvP time to time, and I haven't seen anyone really cast Athena. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but the damage difference, it is there, right? All the spellements, when it comes to that type of stuff, is always going to have a damage increase, right? So you can see that it goes from 520 to all the way to 560, right? The shield still remains the same. It's still minus 35 all the way through. It's literally just a tower shield, but it's just a minus 35. It's for what it is, right? 3 pips and a school pip, 560, right? Now if we compare that to, let's say, Improbable Gaze, right? Improbable Gaze is literally just a minnow, if you think about it. It's literally just a school pit minnow. If I want to use a single target hit, I would probably still use Athena. So Athena comes in clutch for that reasoning, right? I know you do get a shield, right? You can do this round one. Ninja Pigs, you can't really do round one, right? Unless you have a decathlon deck, because this is technically 6 pips, right? And even then you would have to rock TC Ninja Pigs. So keep that in mind. But Ninja Pigs obviously is drastically a big difference, right? You're doing 735 on this thing, right? But this is only like what, 560, and you get a shield, so it has its value, right, with the shield and stuff like that. Don't know if I would ever want to see a raw damage path for Athena. Personally, I wouldn't like that because we already have Ninja Pigs, right? Ninja Pigs literally does what Athena would do if it had a raw damage path, right? It would just be a little bit toned down. But I kind of would like to see some type of gambit mechanic on Athena, if I'd say. Maybe down the line, if they ever do another path, I think the path I would like to see is a gambit path, right? Don't know what they could do exactly, right? If we're going based upon what myth is usually known for, it's known for its shields, it's known for its weaknesses on enemy, or like cleansing weaknesses. If we even go to the myth spells, right? If we go to the 3 spells that myth uses, like Trickster Oni, it does damage if there's 2 dots. If we look at Ivan Storytime, does traps, so it clears 4 traps and does double damage. And of course, if we look at Jin, Gambit's 4 shields on self, right? So maybe something along those lines, maybe like a Gambit something and it does something with maybe a shield, like you clear a shield on the enemy, in return you get something. Maybe that's feasible, right? Something like that. Don't know what exactly they could do, but like I said, I would really like to see some type of ramp or some type of gambit implemented on there. Like a clear mechanic. I should not confuse gambits and clears. I know a lot of people are gonna get at me for that. But like a clear type thing, right? A clearing into another buff. But that's just my take on Athena at the moment. But overall, it's kind of nice to have, right? But if you have, like I said, Ninja Pigs, is Ninja Pigs just better for PvE? You're not really using this for PvE unless there's like a gambit mechanic or like a clear mechanic on it. But like Improbable Gaze, even though like this exists, like if you look at the damage increase, it's really not that drastic. I mean, it goes for 5 to 10, right? And you're getting shields if the enemy has traps. I don't know why I would use that when, like, if you look at damage, literally this spell, Hero of Chrysalis, does way more for the exact same amount of pips. It's just a different school pip, right? Obviously, keep that in mind. You know, this requires a detonation. I mean, you can literally use Troll and detonate it, even do more damage with it. So, take that with your own risk. But that's just overall my take on Athena. And now let's look at the last spell of Festus. All right, here we are on the fire, of course. And now we got to look at the last spell. Quickly go over to my fire, and then let's see Festus. Now, I know Festus has been through some changes over time from what I've heard, right? And looking back at it, I can see some stuff, right? If you look at the damage increase, right, it goes from 340 to 370 and 420 to 450. So it's like a 30 damage, right? 30 flat damage on it. And then on both sides. Will I use this in PvE? Not so much, actually, right? I know it has really some use in PvP because of the fact that it does give you some value, right? You're doing a hit and bubble. But I know some schools have it better, whilst fire requires a school pip. I know there's some arguments behind that, but when it comes to PvE, like I said, you're not really using this, right? Like if you want to use something that does damage in PvE, right, for that amount of pips, why not just use Brimstone? Brimstone does 485, right, compared to the 450 at max, and you're doing 1 less pip, and in return you're getting a trap, right? Of course, I don't have my Brimstone maxed out, but it would be a 30 trap instead of a 25, but the damage will still be 45, right? Now if we look at other spells that do something like that, well, I know I always talk about Glimpse, right? Glimpse does a lot, right? But it's an overtime for that reason, right? And the reason why Glimpse is good is because you can pair it with like Incendiate, right? Or like a Troll, you know, Troll and with there's its own version of incendiate, right? So that's why that works. Same thing as burning rampage. That works because you can do a detonation behind it, right? Can't really do that with a Festus, and of course you can't really do that with Brim. But if you didn't have a person to incendiate, then yeah, Brim is still good for its initial hit, right? 485 compared to a Festus, right? Max is doing is 450, but that's why the bubble is hidden behind that, right? And other spells do it just as better, right? Like if you want, like if you're doing this, right, you can just do Phoenix, but particularly use this for like Dawn Manzana, right? If you need to, right? Because you can't use 5-pip hit, so Phoenix would just be useless. So using like Glimpse and Brim is just good. So overall, I think it was still a good choice though to max out these spells. I know I'm having some critiques on these spells, but I think overall they're fine. Like I said, I mean, I'm eventually gonna max out all of them down the line, right? You guys will always see like a video whenever I get the chance of maxing out spells, right? The next tier 5 spells I'll probably go for is, like I said, Brimstone, Keeper, Lore Master, because if you guys saw my Brimstone, it's basically getting there, right? Like if we go back at it, I'm still 150 spellments away. So whenever I get gold keys or whenever I get time, like I go to Majid, you know, talk to my homie over here and just redeem gold keys whenever I get the chance, I'm going to do so, right? And farm that up. Because there's other options I can go for, right? I can go for example, like I can just save them up and wait for the key boss for Dwyvum spells. You know, I could also do that because they're still relatively new. And I'm not too sure when it comes to the fire spells, at least. Like everything else seems max here. Like I know I could go for Meteor, but it's not really hidden behind a key boss, and I don't know how they would do that later down the line. I have like a hot take on this, but I'll save that for a video in itself. But that is it from me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed me talking about some tier 5 spells. Definitely down the line, like I said, we'll see what next spells we go for, and be on the lookout for some other types of content. I appreciate all the people that have been joining the Discord. Like I said, I think we got a lot of people to join the past couple of days, which is pretty insane. I appreciate all the people that have been joining, right? Hopefully you guys have been enjoying all the content as well. I'll keep on grinding. I appreciate all the comments that you guys have been leaving as well. And yeah, so that's it for me. Talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.